Good day, it's nice to be back on the channel with you all. It's Kate Inspires. If you are joining us for the first time, this is the place where purpose and finance meets. Please do well to hit the subscribe button as we love you to be a part of this global community. So, family, we are going to be discussing about the difference between those who are building for the short term and those who are building for the long term. It's a norm now that every now and then the people around you, the first thing they are asking you is, what's your progress report? But those who are building for the long term, those who have learned to win over time, who have learned to win on the long term, are people who are committed to process. Whereas every other person is in a bid to show forth, to express progress, to display progress in one field or the other in life in general. Those who want to win on the long term, those who want to win for a very long term, are people who are committed to process. And how do I mean? It's a normal thing that people just want results in a world where things are moving fast, where things are getting even much more faster to get results with. You realize, you will agree with me that it's now an indomie generation, so to say, a fast food generation, where what men care about is your progress at this current moment. So the question is, what are you doing right now? What have you achieved so far in the year 2026? What have you able to acquire? If there's really nothing tangible to show, irrespective of what you are building towards, people don't really care. They just feel like you are failing in life. And so this mindset has pushed a whole lot of youth to a point where everyone just wants to show something at the very minute. You just want to show, you just want something you can display this minute to show that yes, you are progressing, yes, you are making progress. So for instance, you see someone, a young lady, a young guy, immediately after school, one of the first things he or she wants to show as a thing of progress is probably a fiancé or a wedding ring showing that now I'm married. And then almost immediately after that, you want to show you have picture of your child, you are posting for photo shoots as regards your pregnancy and all that. You just want something to show the world as a sign that you are progressing. Whereas somebody who wants to win on the long run might not even those 5 6 years you have used to settle down, get a good husband, get a kid and all that. Someone who is building on the long run might not have that to show over the next 5 or 6 years. Not because it's a bad thing to settle down almost immediately after school. It's wrong to have a child after immediately after you give birth. But for this person, he or she might feel, okay, I want to use this 6 years to build a particular brand, a particular business, so that by the time I am done over the next 6 years, what I will have made in terms of profit, in terms of income, in terms of resources over the next 6 years can cater for me, whoever I get married to, and the kids for the next 20, 30 years. So in the next 6 years, this first person who has a child, who has a good home, a good husband or wife, has something to show, and then the world seems to give that person thumbs up. Whereas the other person who seems as though there's nothing to show at the moment, but is committed to process, is committed to building something on the long run, is like, well, you're just there, you're just living a regular life. That's not true. So here's an example that I think will drive this home. So you understand why you should be more committed to process over progress. Because once you get the journey of process right, once you understand why committing to process is key, progress will always find its way into your life by default. It will happen with ease because progress is meant to be a result of process. I'll take that again. Your progress is meant to be the natural outcome of process. If you are committed to process long enough, you are going to get progress inevitably. You are going to just get progress. So it's not out of place that you have a toddler. If you are observant, you'll have seen this, especially with toddlers, young children. You just tell them go and bring your shoes, or they are playing around, and then they just see their shoes, their slippers, or whatever around, and then by default you realize once in a while the toddler might put his leg into his shoes and then wear them correctly. But you agree with me that 8 out of 10 times when that toddler tries to put on his shoes, his slippers, he will always mix up those legs. It's just a normal thing that he puts the shoe for the left leg, he wears it on the right leg. The one for the right leg, he or she wears it on the left leg. And you are wondering, you should know how to wear your shoe. But there are two times, one or two times, that he or she will do it correctly. He just gets there, puts his leg, probably because the shoes were arranged in that particular order. So he just puts his leg and puts the shoes on rightly. Now, at the moment you walk in and then you see a toddler wearing his shoes rightly or his slippers rightly, and you are wondering, who wore it for him? And they say he did by himself. To you, you might feel this toddler has made progress. But by the time he does it over the next 10 series of time, you realize, oh, the first time was just a matter of luck. That is what happens when what you are after is just progress over rather than process. But a time comes in that same child's life that he now understands the process, that this shoe is the one to go to this particular leg. The one that has this shape is to go to this particular leg. In another 2 3 years from now, that same child, having understood process, will hardly make that mistake again. In fact, out of 10 times he or she has to put on his shoes, the chances of him mixing them up might be 1 out of 10 or 0 out of 10. Now, this child has now learned process, and then progress will follow by default. I'll give us another example. I'm sure it's a common thing with schools. I don't know if it's something that is still applicable now. In our own days, there's something we call homework, and then or they call it assignments. Now, the thing with homework is the teacher has taught you something in school, and then it gives you something in that line to take home. So you get busy when you get home. But for some of us, we just feel we are smart, we are intelligent, we find our way around it. So we find big uncles, big aunties in the community or at home who will help us solve those questions and then help us get the right answers. And then you come to school the next day, and then an assignment or an homework that is over 5, you are scoring 4/4, 5/5, and it's like as though you have made progress. But the real test of progress is when the teacher suddenly comes to class the next day and writes test on the board and sets questions in that same line, and you realize barely could you score 1/5, and the teacher is wondering, but on your assignment you had 4/5, you had 5/5. It's simply because this student that took the work home and made people do the job for him has only giving us progress, but he has not committed himself to process. Whereas one who went home and genuinely sat on that assignment, understood the process, and was able to score 3/5 or 4/5 in the homework, will still be able in the test to do exactly the same thing. Why? Because now he or she has learned the process, and then progress follows naturally. If all you are after is about progress rather than committing to process, the chances of you building, you winning on the long run are very, very slim. One more example, and I'm sure this will help explain this perfectly well. It's a normal thing in these days and in this time and season, that when you have assignment, when you have calculations to do, you just pick up your computer, your calculator. In fact, it's on almost every device now, but there's still, I'm sure we still have all these calculator calculating devices that you just punch the numbers, 2 times 3 minus 4 plus 6 and all that, and almost instantly you get your results. You know what answer is. But if you are one who is not committed to process, when you are faced with the same question in an exam hall or in a setting where you have no access to a calculator, it becomes difficult for you to still solve that basic mathematics and get the right result. Why? Because all your life you have been used to using the calculator to do 2 times 3 plus 6 minus 4 plus 0. Whereas someone who is committed to process, who understands the right ways to do this manually, will still be able to function in that particular circumstance and still get the result. So if all you are after is a life that displays progress rather than a life that is committed to process, your chances of you winning in the big day is very, very slim. And life has a way of dealing with people who all they have is progress and not process. In fact, it always happens, especially in the exam day. A day where all you have is you and the process you have committed yourself to. A day where no one else could save you. You've been speaking for a while, you've been writing for a while, people have been enjoying what you are doing, but a time comes when the people who do the backdoor job for you won't just be available. Those who get the job, dirty job done for you inside won't be available, and then here you are a superstar. We know you do this thing now, get this thing done, and you have a very limited time to prepare, and then it's just obvious that, oh, all along you have not been the one doing this. And it's a common thing with you say in workplaces. There's a boss who seems to be getting all the accolades, but there's just one young guy, there's just one young lady who gets the real job done, who does the research, who puts the tasks together, who makes sure that on the day of presentation the boss has the right material to present. The day that lady is not around, the day that young man is not in the office, and the boss has to attend a board and emergency board meeting, then you begin to realize he or she does not even know how to put the files together. And then it becomes obvious that over the years you have only displayed progress, but really you've not been committed to process. If you don't want life to take away from you all you are doing in the name of progress without real process, then from today you must get yourself committed to process. How am I going to get this thing done? What is the process? What is the right order? What are the things that when they align, results will always follow by default? Those are the things you want to commit yourself to. Because if you lose this, you know exactly what to do to start again. If this building collapse, you know exactly what to do to rebuild. If something goes wrong somewhere, you know exactly how to trace it and get the desired results once again. If you are all about progress, your chances of building for the long term, for building for a very long time, are very, very slim. But if you are one who is committed to process, irrespective of whatever football club you find yourself as a footballer, you will still find a way to get your things done. And that is one thing I admire so much about Cristiano Ronaldo. Irrespective of whatever football club a club says himself, he still does his thing because now he's committed to process. He knows exactly how to move, make his moves, and then still get his goals. Are you a man or a woman who is committed only to progress, or one who has dedicated his or her life to process, so much so that now the progress he or she enjoys is a natural result of the process you have committed yourself to? If all you know is progress, then it's time you talk to yourself and start getting yourself committed to process. Till I come your way again, I need to remain financially sharp, I need to remain financially fit, I need to remain in the financial space, I need you to do everything legally and morally right to become financially free and become one who fulfills his or her purpose. Remember, a generation is counting on you and you cannot afford to fail them. If you enjoyed what you just listened to, please do well to like, do well to drop your comment, do well to share with family and friends. And if you are new to the channel, once again, please do well to hit the subscribe button. We'd love you to be a part of this global community. Remember, I am rooting for you. Bye.